I'll probably talk about Corrie Ten Boom at some point in this series. She is definitely a hero for me. Um, uh, but first, I wanted to talk about her hero on this earth, her father, Caspar Ten Boom. Godly man. Um, he led Corrie Ten Boom to Jesus. He and his wife, Cor, um, introduced her to Jesus, and they raised her in the Dutch Reformed Church in Holland. They taught her how to love Jesus well, and what it meant to love Jesus in loving other people, including God's chosen people, he said, the Jewish people. It was June 1943 that a pastor stood in their home, and Corrie walked up to him and looked him in the eye and asked, "Would you be willing to take a Jewish woman and her infant child into your home?" And the color drained from the pastor's face. And he said, "Oh, Corrie, I hope you're not involved in this illegal concealment and undercover business. It's not safe." He said, "Think of your father. Think of your sister. She's never been strong." On an impulse, Corrie ran upstairs and, with the mother's permission, wrapped up the baby and brought the baby down and showed the pastor the little baby face. And he actually leaned in a little bit to, like, cooing. And then he stopped and he just said, "No, no, definitely no. We could lose our lives for this Jewish child." Unbeknownst to him and to Corrie, her father had entered the room and was listening. And he said, "Corrie, give me the child." And she gave him the child, and he looked at the child and the little blue innocent eyes, and he said, "You say we could lose our lives for this child?" The pastor nodded. He said, "Well, I would consider it the greatest honor that could come to me and my family if we did." The pastor turned on his heels sharply and just walked out. Well, the truth is that child, and saving that child and that mother, taking them into their home, taking others into their home, protecting resistors, etc., would cost him his life. Not Corrie's. She ended up going to Ravensbrück concentration camp and was released 1 week prior, because of a clerical error, released 1 week prior to all the women her age being put to death in the gas chambers. But yes, Caspar Ten Boom would lose his life also in a concentration camp, in a prison actually, for his crimes of compassion. Before she was taken to concentration camp, she asked her father about how they would survive, how they would be able to get through such trial if they were taken to a camp, or if they were to lose their lives. Caspar Ten Boom, he said, "Corrie, when I send you on a train somewhere, do I give you a ticket a month in advance, or just as you board the train?" He said, "Just as I board the train." And the point he was making is that God will give us whatever we need when we need it. When suffering and death comes into our station, God will be there for us and will give us what we need. I had read last night about a pastor in Toronto who recently, well, just very, very recently this week, lost their son. 20-year-old son died suddenly while playing a game with a bunch of other students at Southern Baptist University. And 20 years old and suffering, and he said that we have cried and cried and cried until we could not cry anymore. And then they looked at each other, husband and wife, and said, "We can do this. We can do this as Christians. We can do this as the son and daughter of the Most High God." And so many prayers and support has been coming in for them from other believers that they feel strengthened by that, even though they have no words for their own prayers. God does come and meet our needs in the midst of suffering and death. After the war years, Corrie ten Boom said, "Never be afraid to trust an unknown future to a known God. Worry does not empty tomorrow of its suffering or its sorrows. It only empties today of its strength." Casper ten Boom. He was born on the 18th of May, 1859, and he died March 9, 1944. He was a watchmaker, a lover of Jesus, who helped many, many Jews escape the Holocaust of World War II. And he died in the prison hospital for his crimes of compassion. When he was interrogated in prison, the Gestapo told him they would release him so he could, because of his age, he could just go home and die at home in his own bed. His response was this: "If I go home today, tomorrow I will open my door to anyone who knocks on my door for help." So he died at the age of 84 years old. In 2008, he was honored as righteous among the nations at Yad Vashem in Israel, the Holocaust Museum. His legacy lives on, even as I tell the story today. A man of faith, a man whose faith was in Christ alone, but his faith didn't come alone. It came with good works, good deeds, demonstrating his love for Jesus Christ and his love for his people. Let's be those kind of people.